Yo, what's up, guys? It's Ultimate GD here. You can call me Malachi. That's my real name. And I'm gonna be reading stories to you. Horror stories to you, though. PDFs are free, so cat. The Locked Room. We could read this one and other horror stories. I'm not going to read that. That's going to take a while. Contents. Introduction. V. Page V. I'm pretty sure this is page V, isn't it? No, this one is. Cat. Should I read the introduction? Nah. Chapter 1. The Ash Tree. Visitors to Castringham Hall in Suffolk will find it almost unchanged from the days when our story took place. They can still see the beautiful old house with its gardens and lake. However, the one thing missing is the ash tree, which used to stand proud and tall in front of the house, its branches almost touching the walls. This story begins in 1690 with a strange, lonely old woman, Miss Mothersole, who was found guilty of being a witch. Sir Matthew Fell, the owner of Castringham Hall at that time, described how she used to climb into the ash tree outside his bedroom. Oh, why am I thinking that? Every time there was a full moon. He said that she usually carried a strange knife to cut off parts of the tree, and that she talked to herself. Once he followed her home, but she disappeared, and when he knocked on the door of her house, she came downstairs in her night clothes, looking sleepy. He and the villagers agreed that it was certain she did these things by magic, and so she was hanged. Before she died, she fought and shouted and so she was. Why am I reading it twice? And her last strange words were, "There will be guests at the hall." After the hanging, Sir Matthew felt uncomfortable and guilty, and he told his friend the vicar about his worries. "You did the right thing, Sir Matthew," were the wise words of vicar. "I'm sure she was a dangerous woman." Sir Matthew felt happier. That evening, Sir Matthew and the vicar went for a walk in the gardens of Castringham Hall. It was the night of the full moon. As they were returning to the house, Sir Matthew pointed to the ash tree in great surprise. "What kind of animal is that running down the ash tree? It looks very strange." The vicar only saw the moving animal for a moment, but he thought that it had more than 4 legs. He shook his head. It's page 1. "What kind of animal is that running down the ash tree? It looks very strange." "I must be tired," he thought to himself. "After all, what animal has more than 4 legs? I'm not too sure, actually. The next morning, Sir Matthew's servants were surprised not to find him downstairs at his usual time of 6 o'clock, when 7 o'clock and then 8 o'clock passed. When 7 o'clock and then 8 o'clock passed, they began to suspect that something was terribly wrong. And they went up to his bedroom. The door was locked. After knocking several times and still getting no answer from inside, they broke down the door and entered, to find that their fears were right. Sir Matthew's body lay on the bed, dead and completely black. There were no wounds or other marks on him, and everything in the room looked as usual, except that the window was wide open. His servants at first suspected poison, But the doctor who was called found no such thing and could offer no real explanation for Sir Matthew's death. That's literally scary. When he heard the news, the vicar rushed to Casteringham Hall, and while he was waiting to hear doctor's opinion, he looked at Sir Matthew's Bible, which was laying on the table by the dead man's bedside. He opened the book, and the first words he read were from the book of Luke, chapter 8. Cut it down were the words he read. Wait, is that Sir Matthew's Bible? It might be the Jesus Bible though. So, the servants locked Sir Matthew's room that day, and it stayed locked up for the next 40 years. By that time, Sir Richard Fell, Sir Matthew's grandson, was living at Casteringham Hall. He enjoyed spending money, especially on rebuilding parts of the hall. He also decided to make the local church bigger. It was the actual Bible. Okay. So that his family could have a fine new seat in the new part of the church. In order to complete this building work, some of the graves in the graveyard had to be moved. One of the graves that was that of Miss Mothersole. The old witch who began this story. The villagers were excited about the opening of her grave, and a crowd came to watch. However, they and the workmen were amazed to find the grave completely empty. No bodies, no bones, no dust. At about this time, Sir Richard started to sleep very badly. The wind made his fire smoke, and the curtains move. And because his room faced east, the sun woke him up early in the morning. One morning he asked his servant to help him choose a better room, and he made a tour of the house, finding something wrong with each room. Each one was either too cold or too noisy, or it faced the wrong direction. Finally, he found himself outside his grandfather's old room, should say. His servant tried to persuade him not to go in. "It's a bad room, sir. They say terrible things happened in there, and no one has opened the door since the death of your grandfather. Also, the ash tree is right outside the window, and that's always unlucky, sir." But Sir Richard was not listening. He unlocked the door and walked straight in. "See? Nothing unusual in here, James," he said, and he opened the window. As he did so, he noticed how tall and dark the ash tree was. Its branches seemed to be trying to reach into the room, but he said nothing. At that moment, a stranger rang the bell at the front door of the hall. The servant brought him up to the bedroom where Sir Richard was standing, looking around him at the old paintings and old books. "I must apologize for interrupting you, Sir Richard," said the stranger, "but please allow me to introduce myself. My name is William Rome. Rome. I think. No, it's Crome. William Crome. My grandfather was the vicar here in your grandfather's time. I have some papers to deliver you. Delighted to meet you," said Sir Richard. "James, please bring us some wine in the library, and then move my clothes and things into this room for me. I will sleep here in the future." While he was drinking a glass of wine with William Crome in the library, Sir Richard looked at the papers, many of which belonged to his grandfather. Among them he found the notes made by the old vicar about the day of Sir Matthew's mysterious death. Well, said Sir Richard, laughing quietly. "How very interesting. It seems that my grandfather's Bible gave a piece of advice on the day he died. And your grandfather thought it could be about that old ash tree outside the bedroom window. cut it down. The good book told him. Those were the first words your grandfather saw when he opened the Bible on the day of my grandfather's death. Down. Do you still have that old Bible? Asked William Crome. I'd very much like to see it. Sir Richard found the old Bible easily. Yes, here it is. A bit dusty, I'm afraid. Let's see what it has to tell me. I'll open it at any page and read the first words I see, just as your grandfather did. He opened the book and his eyes fell on the words, "You shall look for me in the morning, and I shall not be here." Sir Richard was sure that the words were again about the ash tree. The Bible was crying to give him some advice. He ordered some of the servants to cut it down the next day. But Sir Richard did not live to see them cut the ash tree down. That night, at exactly midnight, a strange and terrible animal jumped from Sir Richard's bed, ran silently to the window, and disappeared into the shadowy branches of the enormous tree. No one was there to see it, but the next morning they found Sir Richard's body, like his grandfather's, dead and completely black. Then William Crome heard the news of his new friend's death. The words from the Bible came back to him. You shall look for me in the morning, and I shall not be here. He immediately hurried to Castringham Hall, where he found the family and servants crowded around the ash tree. Sir Richard's last orders were that we should cut down this tree, explained James, and then, in a quieter voice, he went on, and there's something very strange about that tree, sir. Very strange. It's hollow, and they say something lives inside it. The gardener put his ladder against the tree and climbed up to look inside. As he howled a light over the hole. His face suddenly looked so terrified that several of the people watching him from below screamed and turned to run. I wouldn't be screaming and then running. The gardener himself fell off the ladder, dropping his lamp down into the hollow tree, which quickly caught fire. As the tree started to burn, the crowd saw an animal run from the tree. They screamed in horror as they saw its shape and size. It looked like an enormous spider, about the same size as a man's head. Ayo, that's literally scary. Ayo. And covered all over with grey hair. Look, there's another and another, someone shouted. For a long time, the men watched these terrifying animals trying to escape from the fire, one after another, and then they killed them with sticks. Yeah, I would have killed them with sticks too. Where's the spiders? Oh, here's one. Hey, yo, that's freaking scary. That's literally bigger than a head. A man's head. At last, the fire burned itself out, and William Crome, James the servant, and some of the braver people went to look inside the darkened tree. There they found the bones of a human being. The doctors who examined it afterwards said that it was the body of a woman who died around 1690, the year that old Miss Mothersole was hanged. No, that's sad. Chapter 2, A School Story. Two men, John and Edgar, were having dinner together one night when a conversation started on the subject of school days. One of them, John, told the following strange story. When I went to the school in September of 1870, I immediately became friendly with a Scottish boy called Mick Leod. Mick Leod, not Load, or whatever, Leod. It was a large school, and the teachers changed quite often. One term, a new teacher named Sampson came to teach at the school. He taught us Latin. He was tall and pale with a black beard, and he was popular with the boys because he used to tell us all about his travels to different countries. He always carried an old gold coin in his pocket, which he found on a trip to Turkey. And one day he let us look at the coin closely. On one side of it was on one side of it was the head of a king. I don't know which one. And on the other side of it were letters GWS for Sampson's name, and the date 24th July 1865. We enjoyed Sampson's classes because he often asked us to invent sentences of our own, instead of always doing boring exercises in the grammar book. One day he asked us for sentences using the word remember in Latin. We all wrote our sentences in the usual way, and Sampson came round to correct each of us. My friend Mick Leod seemed to be having some difficulty in thinking of a sentence, and when the bell went for break, I saw him write something very quickly just before Sampson reached him. So Mick Leod's sentence was the last one that Sampson corrected that day. I waited outside the classroom for what seemed a long time before my friend at last came out. I guessed that he was in trouble for making a mistake. When he did come out, he was looking thoughtful. What happened? Was old Sampson angry? I asked. No, my sentence was all right. I think I wrote Momento puti inter quatotaxos, said Mick Leod. That's actually a good name though. I wish I was called that. Well, what does all that mean? I asked. That's the funny thing, he explained. I don't really know. You see, I couldn't think of anything to write until just before Samson got to me. Then those words just came into my head from nowhere, and it was very strange. I could see a sort of picture of it in my head. I think it means remember the well picture. I'll just read it again, guys. Remember the well among the four trees. When Samson read it, he went quiet for a long time. Then he started to ask me questions about my family and where I came from. Then he let me go. We soon forgot about the lesson and McLeod's strange sentence, because the next day McLeod became ill with a cold, and he didn't come to school for a week. Nothing happened for about a month, until one day when we were again writing Latin sentences for Samson. At this time, we had to write them on pieces of paper and give them to him for correction. He started looking through them, and when he got to one piece of paper, he turned white and cried out, looking frightened. He got up and hurried out of the classroom, and we sat there for a long time, wondering what to do. Finally, I got up to have a look at the papers, and the first thing I noticed was that the top one was in red ink. Our school never allowed us to use red ink. It was against the rules. The sentence on the paper said, "See to non veneris ad me, ego venam ad te." I don't know what that means in Latin, guys, but I'm not saying that again. Now let's carry on. Which means, if you don't come to me, I will come to you. All the boys looked... Oh, that's what it meant. Okay, all the boys looked at it, and they all promised that the sentence was not theirs. To check, I counted the pieces of paper. There were 17 of them. But there were only 16 boys in the class. Where this paper came from, no one could say. I put it in my pocket, and it wasn't until that afternoon that I took it out again, and it was completely white with no sign of red ink, of red writing on it anywhere. I know it was the same piece of paper because I could still see my finger marks on it. Anyway, Samson eventually came back to the end of the lesson and told us we could go. He looked at the papers one by one and probably thought it was his imagination playing tricks. He looked pale and worried. The next day, Samson was in school again and he seemed quite normal. But it was that night that the third strange thing happened. It was about midnight when I suddenly woke up. Somebody was shouting at me. It was McLeod, who shared my room. He looked terrified. "Quick," he said. "I think a burglar is trying to get into Samson's room." I rushed to the window but could see nothing. Somehow, though, I felt that something was wrong out there, and the two of us waited, watching closely. "Tell me exactly what you saw or heard," I whispered. "I didn't hear anything, but about 5 minutes before I woke you, I just found myself standing at the window, McLeod outside Samson's window." McLeod whispered back. There was a terrible-looking man standing just outside Samson's window. He was very tall and very thin, and he didn't really look like a living person at all, more like a ghost. He seemed to be making a sign to Samson to go with him. That's all I saw before I woke you up. We waited a long time watching, but we saw nothing more that night. Everything was quiet outside. We woke up feeling tired and strange in the morning, but during the day, the news went around that no one could find Samson anywhere, and he didn't come for our Latin class that day. In fact, we never heard of or saw Samson again. Somehow, McLeod and I knew that we should keep quiet about what he had seen that night, and we never told anyone. It's a good story, John, said Edgar, listening to his friend as he finished his wine. A very good one. But now, I really must be on my way home. I hope I don't meet any strange thin men on the way. The two men laughed, shook hands, and went their different ways. It was about a year later that Edgar, the listener to John's story, travelled to Ireland to visit another friend who lived in an old country house there. One evening, his host was looking in a box full of various old things for a key that he wanted. Okay, this is taking too long, guys. If you want me to make part 2 for this story, I will. So, hopefully you guys like and subscribed and put notifications on and commented down below what you want me to do next. And if I get 20 likes, I will make another video about this story. And anyways, this was actually interesting, actually. I wish I could read more to you guys, but I can't because the video is going to take a long time if I've read the whole book to you guys. So, hopefully you liked this video, and I'll see you guys later. And I'll also make a video of a diss track about my brother one day. And if this video gets 50 likes, then I will make a diss track on my brother. My next video of Geometry Dash would be tomorrow or the next day. Maybe Saturday, I would say. Or maybe on my birthday. My birthday is 9th of May. So, yeah. It's gonna be awesome, though. And I'll be turning 18. Literally. Well, I'll see you guys later. And talk to you guys later too.